Salvete omnes. Welcome to Certamen Tonight, our second episode of this NJCL production. My name is Jenny Luongo. I'm the NJCL Certamen Chair. And I want to thank you guys for choosing to spend the evening with us. As always, having a competitive spirit, but in the vein of fun and positive competition. So we're excited to have everybody here tonight, right, Ben?
Yeah, I'm Ben, your co-host. Thanks for joining us tonight.
All right, so we have a couple of very quick announcements. We wanted to let you know that it really helps a lot if you can subscribe to the NJCL YouTube channel. If you like our videos, feel free to comment with questions and suggestions after the episode, suggestions for future episodes. We love your ideas, and they've been super helpful to us. Don't forget that every week NJCL has a Monday night JC live show, which is awesome. So check that out. And then also, I'm really excited, Ben, because tonight at the end of the show, we're going to have a Kahoot like we have in previous episodes, but tonight we have NJCL swag to give away. So very, very
Absolutely
exciting.
The best swag we have. Very useful stuff that you can't get anywhere else here on Certamen Tonight.
Yes. So it's going to be an exciting and fun night. All right, well, let's go ahead and introduce our special guest tonight. We're excited to have with us Mr. Chris Sloan, longtime NJCL moderator, NJCL legend, the originator, the founder of the World Series of Kurtaman. And then, I guess also in your spare time, you're a lawyer at Baker Donaldson or something.
That's your hobby, right?
That's your hobby, Chris. Yeah. So welcome to Certamen Tonight. We're so excited to have you. And then joining us also is Ms. Sophia Furfine, who is a recent graduate of Stanford University, having double majored in math and classics, who I believe you'd been really involved in JCL academic testing, did Certamen a little bit, and you're here tonight to talk with us also. Tonight, our focus, in case you didn't know from the promotional materials, we're going to be talking a lot about preparing for the language portion of the Certamen competition. So, Chris and Sophia, thanks so much for being here with us. We wanted to start out by just asking you guys to tell us a little bit more about your own NJCL experience. Sophia, let's start with you, if that's okay.
Sure. So with my NJCL experience, I kind of learned about NJCL while I was already in high school. And then I just really loved the different events. I went to nationals as my first introduction to it, which was like actually a pretty fun introduction to everything, because it was nationals are pretty involved. And so I just really enjoyed like all the classic spirit and all the different competitions and just hanging out with people. And since we're also like, I had a Certamen themed answer ready to go, but with the Certamen, like one thing that I think is extra fun about it at nationals versus like doing it locally. Well, I also really love doing it locally, but nationals, something I think that it's really special is that there's also like the spectator element to it, where everyone can watch it, and there's like that community of spectators for it, which I don't think Certamen necessarily has as much of in local regions, and so I think that was something very special about nationals.
And you originally you went to high school in Illinois, and you were part of Illinois JCL.
Yes, that's correct.
Awesome. All right, Chris, tell us about your NJCL Certamen experience.
Well, I started as a student. I played at the state level for Tennessee all 4 years at nationals, and then it was something that, well, JCL generally and Certamen in particular had a really profound impact on me in a lot of different ways that we can get into later. But it was a part of my life that I didn't want to give up when I graduated from high school, and so I stayed involved in college and forward going for a lot of reasons. One of which was I had a lot of friends already that were JCLers, but also because I really enjoyed Certamen. I enjoyed the competitive aspect of it. And at least at that point in time, there was no outlet for people like me who wanted to continue to compete in college and beyond. But one thing I could do was be involved in kurtaman at NJCL in other ways. And so I made it a point to get involved right out of the gate and started moderating almost right away, and have been one of the competitive kurtaman moderators for probably longer than I care to remember at this point, since I've now been to 31 or 32 conventions. And, as Jenny mentioned, I was one of the people that launched the World Series of Kurtaman. There was actually another co-founder who's sort of been lost to history in this field, Charlie Bergen, that we can talk about later. But the two of us launched it, and that's been another really fun way for us to stay involved ever since then.
And your teacher in Tennessee was Nancy Howell, right? Who is a legend in her own right. I had sort of two legends. So Nancy was my teacher, and then Grady Warren was my kurtaman coach for all 4 years. So I was very fortunate. And, it wasn't until later in my high school kurtaman career that I really appreciated the fact that of who these two people were. I mean, obviously I knew them and respected them, but yeah, I mean, having those two who both now have awards named after them at nationals is very special for me. And Nancy and Grady are both good friends of mine to this day.
And Sophia and Chris, I'm just curious, did you hear about sort of JCL and kurtaman before you took Latin in the first place? Or was that part of the consideration to take Latin at all, or did you not hear about it till afterward?
No, I didn't know anything about it. I took Latin for some of the standard reasons that geekier kids take Latin, because it was explained to me that it would look good on a college resume and that it would help you with things like SATs, all of which is true. It was really almost immediately after I started taking it with Nancy Howell that she said, "Oh, you can join this organization called the Junior Classical League, and you can compete with other kids on tests. And then there's this quiz competition called kurtaman." And I could not have signed up any faster.
I also had signed up for Latin class before I knew about JCL, because I had heard very positive things about the Latin teachers at the local middle school and junior high and high school, and they were definitely great. And so that was my really first introduction to it. And I was doing kurtaman locally. And so I had already been pretty involved with Latin club and kurtaman. And then after that, I found out that JCL existed and that there was even more to do, which I was very excited to participate in when I found out.
Totally. So given, and I guess one of the major focuses of the show today is studying for grammar. Given that you were sort of, the language and, starting in class first and then transitioning into kurtaman and competition, just in general, I'll leave it open. What have you found to be the most effective ways to study grammar, not just for class, not just to read poetry and sort of some of the ancient works, but, for sort of a live competitive format like kurtaman?
I mean, I can take a stab at that. My answer is probably going to be less helpful than Sophia's in some respects, because, I'm now one of the old guys doing this. And when I started, two things were true. I mean, there weren't, the internet wasn't really a thing at that point. So it wasn't very easy to find online resources like we have today. And so I was unaware of even some things that existed at that time that were great study resources, but there weren't very many at that point. And also, in Nashville, where I'm from and where I still live, there wasn't a local place where teachers led study groups during the summer to prep for JCL. And in fact, sort of the concept of it was a little bit alien to me initially. Grady Warren and Kay Warren did have daily things during the week in Clarksville, Tennessee, which is about an hour away, but it was hard for me at that point to get back and forth. So I mainly only went back and forth for kurtaman. So for me, grammar and vocab resonated with me because, I was really interested in math and science, and those are things that are very logic and rule-based. And for me, grammar is very logic and rule-based. And so, there's a little bit of memory work learning the overall framework, but once you learn that framework, it's a lot less memory because you're just learning exceptions to that. And then, my study was pretty simple at that point in time, which was, I read the Allen and Greeno backwards and forwards. I mean, there wasn't as much diversity in terms of the sources that were used to write grammar questions back then. And so, if you knew the Allen and Greeno backwards and forwards, then you were going to be on pretty solid footing at almost every level of Latin as far as grammar goes. I know today there's a lot more well-established resources and opportunities than existed back then, but that's how I did it back when I was playing.
And so for me, in terms of anything that was non-language, although also a little bit on language, I also thought that the Florida JCL regional study guides were actually a pretty good resource for getting started with any topic. And then once you own that study guide, then branching out from there, I found to be pretty useful. In terms of studying grammar specifically, the biggest thing that I thought is there's kind of two parts to it. The first part is just getting comfortable with the language and translating a lot. And then the second part is once having that comfort with the language, also focusing on specific test questions. And so going through a bunch of old academic tests, I would usually focus more on the regional and state level tests because some of the more obscure grammar questions that you see on the nationals tests, those wouldn't necessarily be the kurtaman questions I'd be personally trying to buzz it on. And they're also less common than some of the slightly easier questions because it's the speed element. And so then just really focusing on, as while practicing translating a lot, being able to comfortably identify all the grammar constructions along the way, being able to do that quickly. And if there's something I'm stuck on, try to look it up in some resources. I used Kurtaman as my primary studying tool for grammar, although I would also use a little bit of Wheelock's Latin, and I had a few other books handy as well. So, and if I was still stuck after that, then I would ask somebody, either a Latin tutor or a Latin teacher, just to get a little bit of, just to make sure that there wasn't a grammar concept along the way that I was just completely missing. And then in terms of figuring out, then just looking at different study questions to see if there's any patterns that I could find. So for instance, to something like a result clause, yes, I can identify it in a sentence by just saying in context, well, you can see that this is the result of the first part of the sentence, but then also memorizing, hey, look, there are certain trigger words that will trigger a result clause. So that way you don't have to wait for the OOT. You can already just at the beginning of the sentence, as soon as you hear a word, if you know approximately what the question is going to be, you can already guess result clause, and in finding those sorts of patterns I found to be very useful for speed.
Yeah, I honestly, Chris, I don't think that the students that we're going to have on in a little bit will think that the Allen and Greeno is that foreign to them. I think it's still one of the sources that everyone still looks to. I'm guessing what's changed is probably that you can find the whole thing online at places like the Dickens College website, where it's really well organized. And then, as Sophia mentioned, there are all sorts of resources online. If you look at individual JCLs, like the Florida JCL site, or even school JCLs like Rossview in Tennessee maintains a site just chock full of information. So for students who are starting their study, those are great places, resources that are still pertinent. So don't worry, Chris, great places. You're not that ancient. It's still a good place to go.
I'll tell you. I remember the first time I got a searchable digital version of the Allen and Greeno. I was in college, and I was like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. I didn't have to try to use that horrible index to figure out where things actually were in the book. I'll add one more thing about studying for kurtaman generally, because this is something that I think sometimes people lose track of. I mean, it is a game of knowledge and speed. And so one of the best ways to prepare, and this really doesn't matter to me, it doesn't matter what your particular specialty is playing against people that play fast. Because unless you have the opportunity to play against other players who play fast, it's really hard to anticipate what you're going to see speed-wise at something like nationals. And I didn't have anybody in my school who was anywhere near as fast as I was at kurtaman. And so, it wasn't something that I really encountered until we started competing and training for nationals. And at that point, like, I used to love it when they would throw us in with the kids that were older and better players, because like, I knew that for me, it was less about knowing the answer as getting in ahead of them. And that's when you sort of understand the biggest mind shift to me in a kurtaman player is realizing that it's not about buzzing when you know the answer, it's about buzzing when you know the question. And at the point when you make that realization, then everything sort of changes, and it becomes a timing exercise. And practicing against really fast players is one of the best things you can do, whatever your area of expertise is.
Yeah, I know some teachers in areas where they don't have the luxury of having a lot of fast players. Some teachers will have a student read questions, or some coaches will have a student read questions and then play against their kurtaman players just to give them a little bit of a run for their money. Because you're right, playing against people faster than you, while it may feel demoralizing at first, it really is what can help you to anticipate what's coming in those questions. Yeah. And I actually find, having been around kurtaman a long time, both as a student and teacher and coach and now kurtaman chair, I actually find that it's impacted my ability to process information quickly in really positive ways for other things as well. So I wanted to see if you guys would talk about what you're doing now in terms of your jobs, and whether you think your participation in kurtaman has had an impact on that as well. Sophia, will you start with that one?
Sure. So currently I'm working at Art of Problem Solving, which is primarily like a math competition training program, although they also do have some language arts classes. And so I've been fortunate that I get to teach the classics themed ones. And so I'm teaching 2 sections of 3rd grade classics themed language arts, which has been super fun. And we just finished up the Socrates unit. And so that's been very exciting. I've enjoyed that a lot. And so in terms of, I mean, most of my job is also math focused as well, but it's been nice to have that, still have like that piece of classics in my actual work as well. In terms of how kurtaman has affected my life, I do think that that element of the competitive speed skills is very useful with math competitions as well, because it's a very similar type of skill for that part. And then in terms of the language parts, I still really enjoy writing. I mean, I just finished a classics major at Stanford, so I definitely am still very involved with doing classics things.
So for fun, do you have your students do math and Roman numerals every once in a while, or is that a no-go?
No, we haven't done that. Although we do have one unit for one of the younger kid classes where we do Egyptian fractions, and so we do.
Those are way easier.
I don't know anything about Egyptian fractions. Like, I've just missed that in my education. What are Egyptian fractions like?
Oh, here. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to share a screen for that. I will ask for that for future reference. But basically, it's the way they wrote their fractions is that they could only do reciprocals of an integer. They couldn't have and so then if you wanted to have something where you have to have if you wanted to have a non-1 number in the numerator of the fraction, then you'd have to just do it as a sum of multiple reciprocals. They're actually pretty cool.
Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that at all.
Oh, God, yeah. I was going to ask, like, can you divide like a cat into a bird, or can you only put a cat over another hieroglyphic?
Oh,
you get a hippo, Ben. A hippo is the answer.
Got it.
Yes, I don't think the ancient Egyptians had like actual fraction notation, but they had ways to notate doing parts of a whole, and so then it's about doing arithmetic with that.
That's very interesting. Cool. Yeah, that's cool. Chris, what about you? Tell us more about your work.
So I am a partner at the law firm Baker Donaldson. It's one of the largest law firms in the U.S., and I am a corporate and securities and technology lawyer. So I work with businesses that are trying to scale and that are usually tech or tech-oriented. So I would say, if you get to the question of how did kurtaman help me professionally, I would broaden it, because it wasn't specifically kurtaman, but it was kurtaman, and I also played quiz bowl all the way through law school and stayed involved with a lot of that stuff, and even things like the academic testing. All of these things are thinking while you are under some level of time pressure. And I would tell you it's less of an issue for someone like me. I'm not a courtroom guy. I've never set foot in a court to represent a client. I'm a deal guy. I tell people I'm a lover, not a fighter. But it's still really useful skill to be able to ingest and process information quickly in real time. And so I think that the way that my brain was trained in kurtaman and quiz bowl and academic testing and all these other things that I did all the time in high school and college, where there was a time pressure associated with me working through a problem, I think it helped immensely in terms of what I do on a day-to-day basis today.
That totally makes sense to me. like I said, knowing what I know about how my brain has kind of changed in terms of processing from doing all of this stuff. Chris, it's about time to let the kids in, but as I'm doing that, will you tell us more of the origin story of the World Series of Kurtaman?
Sure. So the World Series of Kurtaman, the genesis of it was in the National Convention in 2006, and I cannot for the life of me remember where it was. But Charlie Bergen was another recent graduate from Tennessee, and we were at convention. And I don't remember the specific circumstance where it came up, but we had this, why isn't there an opportunity for adults to play Kurtaman? Because we all knew people like us who would like to play, but it didn't really exist. And so we started bouncing the rough idea off a number of people. I was the one that came up with the name of the World Series of Kurtaman, sort of parroting off the World Series of Poker. And Tom Reed, who was the Kurtaman chair at the time, we mentioned it to Tom and he loved it. And so probably before we'd had much time to even finalize what we wanted to do, he had it on the agenda for the following year. And it's evolved in a lot of interesting ways. I mean, it started off as mostly what I would call true Kurtaman, where the best of the best were going to be playing against each other. At the first convention, it was a traditional Kurtaman format where we had really sort of the last event of the evening overlapping with the dance. We had one round we had 3 prelims and then a semi and a final. It created problems particularly because that was at the University of Tennessee, where everything was off campus for Kurtaman and people were late getting back to curfew. And so against my will, it got sort of slammed into one 3.5-hour format on the opposite the dance on the last night of convention the next year. And I was really upset about that. It turned out that was probably the best thing that could have ever happened in a lot of ways, because one of the things that we didn't appreciate was how starved a lot of students were for something to do opposite the dance, either if they didn't go to the dance or if they wanted to bounce back and forth. And we had kids, we have every year really, have had lots of kids coming into World Series of Kurtaman dressed up in their dance formal wear and vice versa. And then we slowly sort of realized that this was less about giving the adults an opportunity to compete as providing something for the adults to do that was fun, but also entertainment for the kids. And so we eventually landed on the format that we have today, where we sort of feel free to take liberties with the questions and particularly with the players. And that allows us to do things like the emoji questions and the dramatic interpretation questions. And you know, a couple of years ago, we couldn't do it this year for different reasons, but we allowed slashers to play with their sponsors, because we'd heard a lot of people saying, you know, the biggest thing I regret in my Kurtaman career was I never got a chance to play around with my teacher. And so this was an opportunity to do things like that. And it's just continued to grow, to be perfectly honest, like way beyond my wildest expectations in terms of its popularity at convention. And Charlie has actually never been back since the first year that we did it. But I have certainly kept him apprised, and I don't want his name lost to history, because he was every bit as responsible as I was for getting it launched off the ground. And I'm very proud of what we've done in the years since.
Well, I want to thank you as both a sponsor of students who really enjoy the World Series of Kurtaman, and as Kurtaman Chair now. I want to thank you for all you've done for that, but also for being willing to put it on during last summer's virtual convention, because I think it made a difference for a lot of kids. So speaking of students, Bene Winestis to Scipuli, you've arrived. We're so glad to have you here. We're going to do some exhibition questions now for the viewers to kind of see what kind of questions are asked in Kurtaman. The 4 of us, Mr. Sloan, Ms. Furfine, Mr. Van Gelder, and I, we may jump in with a little coaching here and there, some ideas about what to prep and how to buzz and that kind of thing if we see the need. But otherwise, we're just going to let you guys play a little bit. We want to let you introduce yourselves first. And students, we're going to go in that same order that we practiced from the rehearsal before we went live today. So if you want to say things like your name, your school, your state, your grade, your level of Latin, and the best piece of advice you might have for a younger player, that would be great. If you just want to say part of that, that's fine too. Alexander, I'll let you kick it off.
Hi, my name is Alexander. I'm from Georgia. I'm from Walton High School. And my best piece of advice for players is if you feel like you have a good feeling about the answer, just buzz on it and guess that answer, because most of the time you will be right about it.
Hello, my name is Bia. I go to Boston Latin School in Massachusetts. I'm in 9th grade and I'm in level 2. And my best piece of advice would be to study a lot and practice.
Hi, my name is Creighton. I'm also from Boston Latin School in Massachusetts, and I'm also in 9th grade and level 2. And my biggest piece of advice would be to devote a certain amount of time, every day, to studying and get into a good routine.
Hi, I'm Emma. I go to St. Andrew's Upper School in Texas. I am a senior and I take I'm an AP Latin, and my best piece of advice is to have fun and whenever there's something that you don't know, just write it down and that'll help a lot.
Hello, I'm Ishan. I'm a 10th grader at Northside College Prep. I'm in Latin 2, and the best piece of advice is to try a bit of every specialty to see what aspects of them you like or don't like before you decide what to really pursue.
Hi, I'm Isabel. I go to Hume-Fogg High School in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm a junior taking AP Latin, and my best piece of advice was do not get discouraged. There will be hard gains, but always persist through it.
Hi everyone, my name is Joe. I go to Northside College Prep in Chicago, Illinois. I'm a sophomore in Latin 3, and I'd say my best piece of advice is do kurtaman because you love to do it, and make sure to find that passion.
Hi, I'm Kevin. I am a senior in post-AP Latin at Yorktown High School in Virginia. My best piece of Latin advice or kurtaman advice is to bring a pen and paper. I didn't do that for years. I started doing it this past year. It makes a real difference.
Hello, my name is Krish. I'm from Brookfield Academy in Brookfield, Wisconsin, and I am right now a freshman in level 2. And my best piece of advice would be to find a group of friends that are also interested in doing kurtaman and build a great community and practice with each other.
All right, thank you guys so much for both being here and also for that great advice for younger players. We do only have level 2 and above players here in this episode, so I really appreciate you guys reaching out and sharing that with people who might just be getting started with kurtaman or our level 1 students who don't quite know what this is about. So we're going to start with kind of an unusual round of kurtaman. Mr. Van Gelder is going to read it for you, and it's just going to be a series of 7 toss-ups. We are going to want everyone to answer only one of those toss-ups correctly. So if you get toss-up number 1 right, then we're going to ask you to sit back and not buzz on any of the rest of those 7 toss-ups. If you haven't gotten any correct yet, then you can keep buzzing and keep trying until you get your correct answer. All right, any questions about the rules for this round of kurtaman? Hopefully we're going to give some people an idea of what kurtaman questions are like. So Mr. Van Gelder, whenever you are ready. Students,
Right.
I'll just, I know that most of you guys are experienced players, but I'll just remind you that we're going to be buzzing in the chat. So typing buzz or having something like that ready and then preparing to hit return or hit enter to signal to Mr. Van Gelder that you want to answer is what we're going to be looking for tonight.
Thanks, Jenny. I was ready 5 seconds ago. So I guess I'll get you ready now. So besides that, standard kurtaman rules. If you buzz too early on a question, Alexander, you're good because I haven't read the question yet. But after you buzz once, hold off until the next question. And then once you get a question, like Jenny said, Ms. Longo said, take a step back for the remainder. Okay, so without further ado, clear the board here. Toss up number 1 for any player. What Latin abbreviation, which a doctor might use to indicate the pharmacist should determine the appropriate...
Stop.
I have Ishan.
BID.
I'm sorry, it's incorrect. Krish?
PRN.
I'm sorry, it's incorrect. Alexander?
RX.
Sorry, it's incorrect. Joe?
SOS.
I'm sorry, it's incorrect. And Creighton?
Q period S period.
Q period S period is correct, standing for quantum sufficiat, sufficit, or satis. So good job, Creighton. Toss up number 2 for any player except Creighton. Clear the board. Quid Anglicae significat acervus? I have, one second, I have Ishan first.
Bitter.
I'm sorry, bitter is incorrect. Emma?
Isn't it like bitterly or something?
I'm sorry. Bia?
I'm gonna pass.
Okay. Joe?
Sharp.
Sorry, that's incorrect. Alexander?
Does it mean like a pile?
Pile is correct. The quid anglicae significat acervus. Point, whatever points were given out here for Alexander. And so now I'm going to stop listing all the players who are kind of out at this point. I'm sure that list will go quite quickly. So toss up 3 for the people who know who they are. Describamus nunc proprietates dictionum in hoc sententia, cum pugnantium clamorem audi viset, cucurrit domum. Quo casu est Bia?
Locativo.
Sorry, vocativo is incorrect. Joe?
Genitivo.
Genitivo is correct. So quo casu est pugnantium. So what case is pugnantium? So clearing the board for toss-up 4. Translate is in the following sentence. We know that our teacher, Bia?
Essay.
Essay is correct. Good. All right. Toss-up number 5 for any player who is still in the game. Give a synonym of lapis. Ishan?
Lapidus.
I'm sorry, I can't accept lapidus. Emma?
Oxum.
Soxum is correct. Great. Okay. Toss up number 6. Using the dative, say in Latin, 4 evil deeds. Krish.
Bonis malis.
I'm sorry, it's incorrect. Isabel?
Pro mali sophicis.
I'm sorry, it's incorrect. Ishan?
Malis Sophicis.
I'm sorry, I can't take that. Kevin?
Malis factis.
Malis factis is correct. And our final toss-up for this first section / warm-up round. Which of the following does not belong because of its grammar? Virtutum, scutum, sororum, sagittarum. Ishan?
Sororum.
I'm sorry, sororum is incorrect. Krish?
Virtutum.
I'm sorry, virtutum is incorrect. And Isabel?
Scutum.
Scutum is correct. So good job on that first round, guys.
Yeah, excellent work, guys. So I'm going to go ahead right now and give you a team letter. I want you guys to rename yourselves with these team letters. Our next round of toss-ups is going to be played with a team. So you're going to get to do bonus questions with the group of people that are assigned together. So if you guys would use brackets to put a team letter in front of your name, I would really appreciate it. On team A, we're going to have Kevin, Alexander, and Joe. On team B, we're going to have Isabel, Bia, and Krish. And on team C, we're going to have Emma, Creighton, and Ishan. Did I miss anybody or did I say any names twice? Okay, we'll just give you a moment to rename yourselves. And I think we told you guys that we were going to have time to do 5 toss-ups. We may have time to do a little bit more tonight. We'll just see how it goes. Mr. Sloan is going to read a full round. I see in the chat. Spero, I wish that we had time for that. But Mr. Sloan's going to read you at least 5 toss-ups, and I'll keep an eye on the clock. If we have time for more than that, then we can do up to 10 possibly. So not a full round, but maybe half of one if we get through them. Okay, so let's just double check. It looks like everybody is renamed appropriately. You guys are doing great work. I did want to point out a couple of questions. Mr. Sloan is probably ready to go, just like Mr. Van Gelder was, but I did want to point out a couple of things. We had that question about acervus, which is a really challenging vocabulary word. So good job for getting that. Acervus does mean a pile or a heap. And some of you were answering the correct meaning for acervus, I believe. So when you're studying for language for kurtaman, it's super helpful. I'm sure you all are aware, but I'm saying this more for the benefit of people at home. It's really helpful to make a list of easily confused words and to kind of learn them together. Another type of question that you all did really well on was that de scribamus nunc proprietates dictionem in hoc sententia question. For people at home, that's an indicator to kurtaman players that you're going to be asked in Latin about the grammar of the sentence. So excellent job knowing that it was a case question and getting that it was genitivo. All right, Mr. Sloan, are we ready to go?
We're ready to roll.
Would you like either Mr. Van Gelder or I to help with putting dividers in between questions or pasting bonus questions for you?
Yes, that would be brilliant.
Okay. Mr. Van Gelder, do you care what you do?
I can do that. That's perfect.
Do you want to do both? Are you good?
Dividers and what was the second thing?
And pasting bonus questions in. Are you good for that?
Oh, totally.
Okay.
Well rehearsed in this art.
I was going to say we've got experts here on this live stream. All right, here we go. As soon as you're ready, Mr. Sloan, I know the players are.
All right, we're going to start with toss-up number 1. A close and constant companion can be known by what? And we've got Eshan.
Wade mecum.
Wade mecum is correct. And did I say your name right? I apologize. I wasn't paying attention earlier.
Oh, Ishan. Yeah, that's good.
Great. Okay, so the rest of the question was can be known by what Latin phrase? Meaning go with me. So this is a bonus for the C team. Your bonus. An illogical inference can be known by what Latin phrase, meaning it does not follow?
And teams, it'd be great if you would unmute yourself for the bonus questions.
So yeah. Non sequitur, right?
Yeah, non sequitur.
Non sequitur, final answer.
That is correct. And your second bonus is an unwanted guest can be known by what Latin phrase, meaning an unwanted person?
Persona non grata, right?
Yeah.
Persona non grata, final answer.
That is correct, and that is 20 points for Team C on number 1. We're now going to move on to toss-up number 2 for any team. Translate into English. Nunc tacere est bonum. Team A, Joe.
Now, to be quiet is good.
I'll take that. Yes, it is good to be silent now, or being silent is good now. Your first bonus, translate into English. Omnes donum capiunt.
So omnis is all.
Can you paste that in chat? I think omnes donum capiunt, like everyone seizes a gift. It's kind of strange.
I think all, yeah, all, everyone sees, yeah, try that.
Answer, please.
Okay, final answer, everyone seizes a gift.
No, it's everyone takes a gift. I guess, I don't know, I'm looking at Mr. Van, okay, we're going to accept that answer, yeah. It's like Oprah, everyone gets a bonus. And your second bonus for the A team, sorry. Translate into English, laudamus bona dona.
We praise the good gifts.
Yeah, we praise the good
Yeah,
gifts. Okay. Yeah, final answer.
Oh, sorry, you said final answer. Or did you say final answer?
Yeah, our final answer, we praise the good gifts.
That's correct. It is, we praise the good gifts. So that is a total of 20 points for Team A on question 2. All right, we're going to move on now to toss-up 3 for any team. I don't think that means what you think it means is one of my favorite memes. Translate the following Latin word, Texas. I don't think that means what you think it means is one of my favorite memes. Oh, sorry, I missed it. So Team B, Creighton. Or sorry, Creighton. Team C, Creighton.
Is this like pill bottle?
I'm sorry, can you repeat?
Pill bottle.
No. Next up is Team B, Krish.
Is it like you may weave?
May you weave, you may weave. Yes, that's correct. That's what we were looking for. Very good for Team B. And here's your first bonus. What Latin word meaning come on looks like an English word indicating a length of time?
Can you paste that, please?
What Latin word meaning come on looks like an English word indicating a length of time?
Maybe like an advent, maybe?
Wait,
I'm not really
what?
sure if that.
Wait, I didn't hear what you said. Can you?
Advent.
Oh, Advent?
Answer, please.
Does that mean a length of time?
Yes.
Okay, Advent, yeah.
Okay, I'll just go with that then.
Advent, final answer.
No, it's age. Age is what we needed there. It looks like age, as in a length of time. All right, and your second bonus. And by the way, I love this toss-up. I wish I could have stolen this for the World Series. Your second bonus. What Latin word meaning let him pass looks like an English word indicating substantial content?
Hermit?
Do you know what pass is?
Hermit, maybe.
Or would it be like let him pass? So maybe like cannot.
Answer, please.
But like it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, we'll just go with permit, final answer.
No, it's mayot, or it looks like the English word meet. So no points on that. So only 10 points for team, I think it was Team C. So we're going to move on now to toss-up number 4 for any team. Translate greater into Latin for the phrase.
Stop.
Okay. Bia.
Majoribus.
I'm sorry. Can you? I'm having trouble hearing you. Can you repeat that?
Majoribus.
Majoribus is actually correct. The rest of the phrase was translate greater into Latin for the phrase with the greater leaders. So your first bonus. Now say in Latin, that battle was greater than all others.
Okay, so would it be like illud proelium?
Yeah, it would
I'll
probably.
type something.
Yeah.
Arat, Meli. Is it like a neuter?
Answer, please.
It should just be Maius, right? So illud proelium, erat Maius. And we can say quam.
Oh, we need an answer now.
Okay, I defer to Krish.
Illud proelium erat major quam alia.
You were close. It was, there were several versions of this, but proelium illud erat maius omnibus aliis / quam omnia alia. There were several different versions of that, but the omnia was the part that I think got you on that one. And then your second bonus, now using a form of major, say, Parva is older than the hills.
Are we using major to say older?
Yeah, we'd have to use.
Okay, I'll type something.
So it'd be. Do we have to use major not to?
And we need an answer, please.
Okay.
Just go with something.
Parva est major natu quam cola.
You were close. We could have taken coles or colibus there for hills, but otherwise your structure was exactly right. So total of 10 points on question 4.
So Mr. Sloan, I do think we're going to have to stop at 5 so that we have time for a Kahoot, which all of you are also welcome to play in. But you all are right that teams A, B, and C are each currently sitting on 20 points. And I also want to compliment Team B that just missed that last bonus question by knowing that collace is not a neuter word. So collace would be the ending since it's masculine, but really good, really close on that last bonus question. Okay.
All right, and I better not hear anybody playing the final countdown in the background there. All right, I'm going to pick the question that I like the best for the last question. So this is the final toss-up, and it's actually toss-up number 7 on my sheet. For the verb fido, give the future imperative form that means, and we've got lots of people buzzing in. So Team C, Creighton.
Oh, what even is this? This would be like fidito.
Sorry, that's incorrect. And let's go to Team A, Joe.
Fidatote.
Fidatote is correct. The future imperative form, that means y'all shall trust. And your first bonus, change that to the third person, meaning they shall trust.
So that would go from was it fidatote to fidunto, I think. Because I think it would look like that. Does that look good?
Answer, please.
Okay, fidunto, final answer.
That is correct. And your second bonus, change fidunto to the pluperfect subjunctive, keeping person and number the same.
Okay, so it's fido, fidere, fisosum, I think. So that would have to be fisi essent, if I'm not mistaken.
That looks right, yeah.
Okay, so then Fisi Essent final answer.
That's correct. You get 20 points on the final question.
So for actually for the audience, I'd love, anyone can raise their hand. Why did so many of y'all buzz so quickly on that?
There's only so many future imperatives. It was more worth it to take the shot than to wait to see what we were trying to translate.
See, these are my kind of players. They're willing to gamble it up a little bit.
That's what makes kurtaman fun and interesting, right? Is the gamble that you
Absolutely.
take. Yeah. All right. Well, you all can probably hear the Kahoot music going on my computer. I'm going to share my screen for all the viewers at home, but everybody can either get out their Kahoot apps or go to kahoot.it. And Mr. Sloan, Mr. Van Gelder, Ms. Furfine, y'all are welcome to play also. We've mentioned that we've got JCL swag on the line tonight. And so here's what's required for that. If you place first or second or third, and you are a JCL or SCL member or a JCL sponsor, then after the show, if you will email me a screenshot with your very fun alias that you played Kahoot with and the screen that says that you finished in first, second, or third place, we will pick the top JCL member, SCL member, or sponsor to send the swag to. So again, you can use your Kahoot app. You can go to kahoot.it. Our game pin tonight is Quatuor Nihil Quinque. Tres Noem Nihil Quatuor. It looks like we're getting everybody in and everybody joined. So exciting times. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started, but if you're still having trouble logging in, don't worry, we've got it set so that you can still join during the game. And I think we're on a very light delay tonight, so we are only going to have 30 seconds for each question. So get ready, those of you at home who are maybe a little bit delayed on this. All right, so we focused on language skills this particular event. And so we're going to go with quid anglique significat texto texere. Were you paying attention to that question that Mr. Sloan really liked? Quid anglique significat texto texere. Again, if you're just joining in and you want to play, the game pin is at the bottom of the screen. All right, and look at that. All these people were paying attention. Texo texere means to weave, so Texas actually means you may weave. All right, let's keep going. Actually, it's not true. Texas is from a indigenous word meaning friendship. So, but let's move on to this. Complete the sentence. Credimus pacem esse blank quam bellum. So we had that question about the forms of major earlier. Let's see if we can pick the best one or the correct one to fill in this sentence. Looks like almost all of our answers are in. And this one is majorem is the right form to agree with pacem here. So congratulations to the 20 of you who got that right. Looks like lovely ostrich is still on top. I always keep Virgil's Aeneid with me. It is my what? So were you paying attention to the phrases that we went through earlier? So it is my persona non grata, my vade mecum, my non sequitur, or my quantum sufficiat. What is Virgil's Aeneid if it's always with you? Which it should be, of course.
I feel like it should be my quid pro quo.
Sic transit gloria. Those are my husband's phrases because they're in the history of the world, part 1. Okay, it is my wade mecum. It's my go with me. All right, looks like lovely ostrich is hanging in there. Which form means y'all will be? Notice the imperative there. I'm so glad that Mr. Sloan got to that future imperative, skipped ahead to that future imperative question so that we're a little more prepared for this one. Notice my Texan coming out in that y'all. Is it esto, estote, sunto, or estis?
I will say y'all is a very useful word for Latin translation questions.
I agree. It makes everything easier. All right, excellent. It's estote, just like we had fidatote, I think, was the one earlier. All right, good job, everybody. Oh, we're getting some switches around. Wise lizard moving on top. All right. The Forum Holatorium was named that because they sold what there? This is a kind of a vocabulary question if you know where holatorium comes from. We got to some vocabulary this time. We didn't get to this word though, but that's all right. I feel like with the choices meat, vegetables, donuts, sundials, and water clocks, there's one I feel like I can eliminate maybe. All right, so holus does mean vegetables or vegetable. So yeah, that's where the Forum Holatorium comes. Okay, wise lizard still on top. A few more questions. What does the Latin word incipient mean? So this is one of those English words that's exactly the same, incipient, but it means something a little different in Latin. So is it they will begin, they began, let them begin, or they are beginning? All right, and incipient with that E indicating the future tense, they will begin. We've got some movement here, glowing frog on top with 2 questions left. Which of the following does not belong because of its form? Oh, we had a similar question to this earlier. Manuum, puerorum, rerum, or bellum? Which doesn't belong? Maybe thinking back, if you remember that question we had earlier, might help you. Oh, good job. So earlier, the one that didn't belong was scutum, another neuter word that isn't genitive plural like the rest of them. All right, glowing frog is hanging in there. Now, pick the correct form of pharaoh to translate. I believe that pies will be brought to the picnic. So we had an indirect statement earlier where the answer was just esse, but now we're looking at a different verb. So now we need a form of pharaoh. So is it tulisse, fere, laturas esse, or latum iri? And in case you're wondering what the word for pie is in Latin, it's a late Latin word, torta tortai. So we need that future passive infinitive that's so rare that we hardly even care about it, unless you're a kurtaman player and you need to know all of the obscure grammar, right? So latum iri. All right, let's take a look at our podium again. If you're on top, make sure you do a screenshot so you can send it to me at kurtaman@njcl.org. Lovely panda. Captain Shark in 2nd place, and Wise Lizard. It looks like everybody did really well. So congratulations. Gratulationes omnibus. Again, don't forget to email me with your screenshot, kurtaman@njcl.org. NJCL.org, and I'll make sure you get your swag if you were the top finisher among NJCL sponsors or JCL members or SCL members. I want to thank Mr. Sloan, Ms. Furfine, all of our students who joined us this week. If you'd like to be a student on the show in the future, you are welcome to email me at kurtaman@njcl.org. If you've already filled out the form and asked to be on, we are hoping to have more students in the future. Next time, Mr. Van Gelder, we're going to be talking about how to form a team at your school, right?
Yes, so stay tuned.
Yeah, we've got some people who have started kurtaman programs coming on. We're going to have some advanced teams coming on, and we're going to be talking a little bit also about how to study for literature, which, if I remember correctly, Mr. Van Gelder, was your specialty by your final years of kurtaman. Maybe.
Some point, I forget at this point, but yeah, I think I did that.
All right. Well, gratias omnibus valete omnes. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, everyone.